days I've lost control of all that I believe. What is real, a flash of memory. Living in a shadow deep, a dark reality. Wake me up and bring me where I wanna be. Feel the cold long space.
I feel like I've interviewed you so many times that at this point we're probably going steady, you know?
You're going to be able to write the book soon.
I know.
Right.
Don and Jordan, The Journey. You know,
there you go. The journey.
The journey. You know, it's always got to be something cosmic with me, though. You know,
right. So, I can do the album cover or the book cover. For you.
Yes. Okay. So people, you heard it here first. Okay. So
yeah, as you can see, I'm working on my skills towards that goal.
Well, I have to say that was the greatest picture I have ever seen in my entire life, and some people actually questioned. They were like, did you I was like, if you've ever seen me do Photoshop that looks that good, that was the real deal, man. Thank you right off the bat for like pimping out my band.
Absolutely. No problem. Happy to do it.
Well, so
cool.
Before we get too deep into it, I have to say the Dream Theater tour, at least the show I saw here, that was so much fun. Like the connection on stage was great. You know, I mean, Mike Mangini has really solidified himself as a member of the band. And you guys really seemed to be having more fun than I've ever seen. And I really think that resonated into the crowd. What was it that, because Scenes from a Memory, in my opinion, is like a pretty deep album. And even as deep as it was, you guys were still having fun with it, you know?
Yeah, I know. I'm so happy to hear you say that. And I feel that on stage when we're playing. It's very it feels very unified, and like we're all kind of coming from the same place, and it's powerful, and it's it's a really interesting, great time for Dream Theater. It's funny how a band that's been together this long, you go through these kind of like arcs or curves, and it's not going to stay the same all the time, and every tour is going to feel a little bit different. Every album is going to feel a little bit different. And, but I will say that this is a really kind of powerful time for us where things just feel like they're lining up and have been going in a really positive direction, and we're enjoying it. And I think it comes out on stage as well. That's definitely a part of it. And Mangini is just, he's amazing. He's just so solid back there that it just totally helps our cause.
I mean, and that guy, how can you not smile when you watch? Because the guy smiles when he plays. You know what I mean? It's like you're looking up at him and you're going, damn, you're having a blast. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. and it's so contagious,
Right. It's definitely his highest self when he's behind those drums. He just kills it. It's great.
Is that a short joke that you just made? No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's not. I'm not going there.
We won't go there. Sorry, Mike. I was just kidding.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Well, so I have to jump right into this because I have to tell you, like, over the weekend, I really gave Wired for Madness a really earnest listen where, like, I literally just like sat down, put the headphones in, wanted to hear all the ear candy and everything. Like, yeah. It's mad, it's brilliant, and it's disturbing all at once. And if I had to sum it up, it's like part Sgt. Pepper at times with King Crimson and a good bit of Emerson, because your Emerson influence really shows through on this album more than I've ever heard you.
Wow. Okay. That's cool. That's definitely my.
Is that an astute observation?
Yeah, no, I like the combination you were going for. That's cool. Yeah.
So was this album? And I would assume that like most artists. Did you kind of make this album hoping that the listener would hear different things, like kind of like what I was just saying, like maybe somebody else might hear other things that, differently than I did.
Interesting. So this, the album is very much, at least to this point, I guess a studio album in that, I go in there, I kind of feel like a painter of sonic colors. I've got this, large library of all these interesting colors that I can kind of put on my musical canvas. And I don't really, hold back, if you will. I just like going for it, seeing what kind of interesting, trippy, if you will, like colors can kind of come out. And a lot of times my music will involve a great deal of orchestration, trying to achieve something that can almost like tingle in your imagination, or really take you on a ride, or back to our journey where, Wired for Madness, the title track especially, to really truly get the most out of it and get into it, it's a bit of a commitment.
Right.
There's a lot, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of twists and turns, very much in the leaning towards that more kind of epic prog style where, Yes, Close to the Edge, or Dark Side of the Moon, or things that go for, that really go for a ride. So I wasn't shying away from just like going there and doing the twists and turns. And I wanted it to be for those who want to put aside a little bit of time and go for that journey, maybe throw on some headphones or crank up some cool speakers. I wanted it to be a real trip, take you and just like go for it, like fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. This is going to be a ride.
I love that you said that, because that is exactly what I got out of it. And like certain albums are made, at least in my opinion, are made to be listened to in sequence and even in one sitting. And I think one of the things I loved about Wired for Madness was that, and I love that you kind of touched on the Pink Floyd thing, because it was very reminiscent of that kind of sequencing, where there was like a flow to it, and every part, Bring It On, Out of Body, Lost Control, like it all seems to kind of just flow. But I was also fascinated over the fact that as a whole, that part of the album, that the longest song was like 5 minutes and 49 seconds. Like I've never heard a prog album with a song that short. How did you manage to kind of reel yourself in, like you said, because like you said, you were playing with all these colors and on your canvas. How did you reel yourself in to keep things kind of concise like that?
Well, it's funny, like when I started to work on this album, I had put aside some time. I knew that I needed some time to dive in the way that I wanted to do it. It's always hard. It's always hardest, as like any creative project, to just like get into it. As an artist, I definitely will, spend some time questioning, kind of like, wow, can I do this again? Like I did it last time, it was cool, but will it actually happen again? And I think many writers and musicians go through that kind of a thing, that self-questioning. But I dove into the studio, I started working on it, and I went, wow, okay, I can do this. And I got some things down. I thought it was really cool. And it was all the really, really super progressive stuff. I literally started with what you hear as the title track, part one.
Right.
And so I dove in, and then I got about 8-10 minutes into it. And I thought, wow, this is going to be the craziest, wildest progressive album that I've ever done. And I came into my house and I told my wife, Danielle, I said, I'm working on this stuff. It's crazy. It's wild. It's all these cool changes. It's got all these colors and these sonics. And she was like, well, that's great, but you're going to have to write some stuff that like is a little bit easier to absorb for people. You can't have it all be like crazy stuff. I was upset because I was like, I was thinking, my thought at that time was that it was going to be 60 minutes or whatever of just absolute madness. Not even Wired for Madness, but absolute madness. Like me, like letting it all just like soar out of my brain. Just like beginning to end, just like a roller coaster off the tracks. That's what I imagine. Like you turn it on and it is like what Wired for Madness is, but the whole time But she was like, you can't really do that. And I was upset. And I walked out of the room and I was thinking, yes, I can. Yes, I can. And like the next day I kind of like sat with her feedback and I thought to myself, you know what? She's right. Because I can't, you got to give some people, as much as I'm so proud of the title track and all that, most people can't completely absorb that in the first or the second listen. It takes a little while. You got to really make the commitment. So, but so what ended up happening is that, I love all kinds of music. I love the blues. I love really mellow stuff. I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan, or Sigur Rós or Rose, however people say it. I like things that are very floaty and really super mellow, as well as really progressive. So then I was thinking, well, you know what, I can make this album, really balanced and have some other things on it. So that's why I composed the blues tune that, features Joe Bonamassa and, some of the more kind of nicer songs like Just for Today or Off the Ground. Just kind of rounding it out a bit to show those sides of me, and also to have the listening experience be something where you could, take a breath. Right. As well, which is really important. And and that said, even in Wired for Madness, in the title track, as a big fan of a lot of music that's spacey and mellow, there's absolutely times within that crazy journey where you fall into more of a trippy kind of mellow vibe. Like some of the vocal elements get into my more kind of a Floydy space, if for lack of a better way to describe it. Some people who've been listening to it say, "Oh, it sounds like Alan Parsons, or it sounds like David Bowie, or it sounds like this or that." But whatever it is, it's my more open kind of space that I, really also enjoy listening to and putting out there myself.
It's so funny because when you were telling me about your wife, I could just picture like my wife tells me the same thing about certain songs that that I'll write. Like she'll I'll play them for her, and she's very honest, and she'll go, "It's not one of your best," and then I kind of feel like a puppy dog that's like patted on the head, and then we just turn around with our tails between our legs and we go, well, I kind of like it, but
Yeah, right, sure.
But one of the things I did love is that you talked about the Pink Floyd influence, and one of the things that I picked up on was that there's definitely a Roger Waters kind of element to your vocals on the album. And so to hear you kind of directing towards that Pink Floyd element made me realize, okay, cool. So I did hear that then, that wasn't just me.
Oh, yeah. Right. Absolutely. From a vocal point of view, first of all, let's face it, I'm a keyboardist, number one, and and I love to sing, and if I write the music myself, I enjoy expressing vocals myself as well, and that's the reason I sang on the album. But as far as my vocal influences and the kind of sound that always kind of resonated with me, it goes back to like, Greg Lake or John Wetton or, Roger Waters or David Gilmour or certain Bowie things or, like some of the singers that Alan Parsons, whoever was talking about Alan Parsons in their own little comments was not far from what kind of spins around my head from a timbre point of view.
Right. I heard that myself, actually.
Yeah. My voice is, kind of low or very low. And I like, I gravitate towards a smoother kind of natural sound. So that all makes sense, certainly.
So one of the things I loved about, because it was a perfect segue, because you were talking about how your wife said, like, you got to have something that's easy to absorb. So you kind of have like a part 2 to the album, where it's got, a handful of songs, such as, like you said, Off the Ground, I'm trying to think now, Perpetual Shine, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Off the Ground was probably my second favorite of that group of songs because I loved the comment that I read that you said, where you said that ever since I was a kid, I've had a recurring dream that I could lift up off the ground and fly. Often I'm just hovering. And I think there's something kind of, again, like I hate to use that word, but you and I always kind of bounce it back and forth because we get it. Is it this cosmic kind of thing where a dream just kind of revisits you constantly? So by writing this song, was it kind of more of like a sharing of your dream, or was it more of a like a I'm trying to kind of dump this, if that makes sense?
It was like kind of sharing the energy of it. That's kind of where I'm coming from. I mean, it's funny because like in my life, this is the only recurring dream that I have, and I've had it ever since I was a kid. And it's really, I always have this, like amazing experience, I would say, because I have this dream, and then I wake up, and then I'm like, oh my God, it was so easy. It was so easy. I kind of feel like I can do it. But then, of course, I realized that there's a separation between the dream and reality. But the result of the dream, even though the dream takes different forms, like it'll always be something a little bit different. Like maybe I'll be sitting down kind of like in a meditation, position, and then kind of like lifting up off the ground, or maybe I'll run and jump and I'll be able to stay up, or, so I'm kind of like flying or hovering in different ways. But at the end of the dream, before I wake up, I say, look, I can do it. It's easy. I can do this. And then I wake up and feel that for a second, and then realize that, okay, well, it's not that easy. I'm still kind of, gravity is holding me down. So this song was a way to kind of like musically, share that, to kind of allow maybe a little bit of that feeling, to come through the music.
So I love that song, but I have to ask, what's up with Sexy Rudess on Just Can't Win? Like, that's some like David Lee Roth level, that's some like David Lee Roth level shit right there. And I was just like, listen to Saucy Rudess, man.
Right. Well, there's always room for a dirty blues. I mean, nobody, like I've got a lot of sides to myself. I'm the gentle, spacey, progressive rocker or whatever, but I also can get down dirty and into it and, have some fun. So that's my blues side. I let it out. I let people have a little glimpse of, the other side.
I just loved hearing that. Like, for some reason, I could picture you in like a hat, kind of tilted sideways in a smoky bar, and you go, "Take it away."
Right. No, I love that. I had such a great time. I play a lot of blues. I've always enjoyed playing blues at the piano, or like bluesy riffs on the synth or whatever. But it's just something that for my whole musical life, on my own or with friends or whatever, I'll break into the blues. I'll make up a blues, about whatever at the moment. So to finally decide to put that on the album was kind of cool. So I was like, you know what? I don't have to just keep this like in the back room, like the dressing room before a show, and like, make the guys smile. I can put this out in a full on, production. I can make this happen. And what it really kind of inspired to, the idea to literally do it was that I signed with the Mascot label, and when I did, I was thrilled because Joe Bonamassa is like the premier artist on the Mascot label, and I thought, wow, it'd be so cool if like Joe would join me for a tune and guest and play some blues with me. And when I mentioned it to the Mascot people, they were like, well, I don't know, he's really busy, he's in the studio, he's on tour, how do you I didn't get the feeling that they felt very comfortable or that they thought it was very possible to make this happen.
Right.
But I was, I had this seed of an idea, this little bit of inspiration. And so I remembered that I had met Joe Bonamassa because he came backstage to one of the Dream Theater shows, I don't know, some years back. And he was very nice, and he was kind of a fan, of Dream Theater. So I thought, I'm just going to write to him myself. So I literally wrote to him on Instagram in the messaging, and he wrote back right away. I said to him, I hadn't just signed the Mascot. Would you like to play on a track of mine? Would love to have you. He was like, absolutely, would love to do it. And so then that happened. So it was really cool.
I love that you and I are very similar. Like, sometimes you just have to cut to the chase and be a rebel and go around you know what I mean? You know what? I'll take care of this myself.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. That's how I was. Look, I can do this. I mean, and very much in our industry, it's about people and it's about relationships. And, you kind of, a lot of people function in life, in their professional world, in this kind of business mindset, which can be great, and certainly be powerful and get things done. But in my own world, even when it comes to my business, I always come back down to the personal. I find that I'm more effective coming from a very personal point of view. Like, it's for me, it's about relationships and it's about real tuning between people. And if there's something that's going to happen in business, generally it's going to happen because there's a tuning there, there's a resonance, there's an understanding. And I enjoy, like communicating and working with somebody. So that's just what it is. I think that idea relates to the bigger picture for everybody, but it is certainly clear, and there is a reality that some people don't think that way so much, and still get things done, in the business world.
I think you really nailed it with the communication aspect, because just to give you an example, was that I had put in a press request to talk to the lead singer for Venom Incorporated, who is the original Venom members with from the earlier era, without their original singer, and their PR person was just like, no, they're not available for interviews, they're not doing interviews, whatever. And I don't know that she knew I was good friends with Tony, the singer, and he messaged me and he goes, hey, we're gonna do another interview, right? And I'm like, well, your PRP, he goes, oh, screw them. You just call me directly and we'll do it. And I was just like, oh, okay. So I kind of get how that works. It's like you said, sometimes it's about that direct form of communication.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you want to, sometimes you have to follow a particular pattern or the rules of the game, but it's often about, it's all people, we're all people. We're all just in this to enjoy our lives and to make the best of it. So it does come down to that.
We're just rule breakers, Jordan.
There you go.
We're rule rebels.
And I'm a dirty rock blues guy when it comes down to it as well. Let's just face it, okay?
I like the dirty rock, the dirty blues, dirty Jordan. That should be your new nickname.
Yeah, right. Anybody you doubt it, just give Just Can't Win a spin, and then you'll know what we're talking about.
I literally, just before our interview, I texted my friend James. I said, dude, you got to hear Sexy Jordan Rudess. And he was like, what? And I sent him a copy of the song. I said, I'll call you after the interview and we'll talk about it.
Right. There you go. Okay. It's been revealed now. There's no more hiding.
Well, so just to kind of sidestep a little bit, let's talk about your apps. You really revolutionized the world of the music app by really doing some awesome things, like creating music-based apps where even someone like my mom, who's never really played an instrument, could pick up one of your apps and really kind of create something. Is there anything new in the pipeline right now that you've got working on?
Yes, absolutely. It's funny. Like, first of all, I appreciate your kind of pointing that out, or giving that perspective about it all. I mean, the app world has changed so much since when I first started. When I first started with the whole app thing, there was really nothing. The App Store was just a baby, and there was no really good music apps on there, and none of the big players were part of it.
Right.
So, but I was playing around with the original iPhone. Even though it didn't really make any good sounds or visuals or anything, and I had some real ideas about how the touch on the multi-touch surface could express musical ideas, and I was really passionate about bringing some of that vision that I had to the world. So I met a really good programmer and started to talk to him about some of the ideas that I had and some of the values that I had in doing this. And he really, was in tune with me about that. And that was the year that we created Morphwiz. And it was a really important app in so many ways. One way is that it allowed me to materialize the vision that I had. But it was also really timely because it was very successful, and it kind of opened up this world for me of possibilities of working with interesting people and doing cool stuff. And what I like to point out is this, I guess, that I not only wanted to create something that would be an expressive musical instrument or way to use the multi-touch surface, like an iOS device or any of the, and that doesn't have to be Apple, could be anything,
Right.
but just how to use a multi-touch surface to express music. But I wanted to kind of shake that up a bit and present some new ideas. But I also have always been passionate and interested in opening up the music creation space to as many people as possible. So for people who are not usually music makers, I don't see any reason why software can't help them to feel what it's like to actually play music. Doesn't mean they're going to be Vladimir Horowitz or John Petrucci or anybody like with their skills, but be able to enjoy not just being a listener, but to be able to control and to make a beautiful sound. That's something that really I think is beautiful. I mean, I'm not threatened by tools that allow non-musicians, if you will, to like make music. Like one of the like in my latest app, GeoShred, as an example, one of the patches that's on there is a layout of just a blues scale. So in one of the modes, when you run your finger along the playing surface, you can't mess up. I mean, it's basically you're playing all the notes of a blues scale. Maybe you could choose some notes at a certain point that don't sound as good as others, depending on what you're playing over, but it's all the notes of the blues scale. So offering instruments like that allow that capability, to me, are really, really cool. I think it's just a nice thing for the world to offer things where people can enjoy, making music. But the other part of it, just to kind of step back a little bit, is that I really also have some ideas which are changing things up and making people, professional musicians, professional instrument companies, making them think a little bit more about what they're doing and their approach.
Right.
Really, in the hardware world, we're still, we're like, in the past history, we're so far behind what's really possible. So much of the hardware that comes out by all the big companies, as great as it may be, as far as, really taking advantage of what's possible and cutting edge technology, it doesn't really do that. So the apps, and software allows us to kind of push forward and open up doors, and then we kind of wait for, the hardware world to kind of like catch up. So it's definitely an interesting kind of a thing.
So what is your newest thing that you are working on right now?
I'm working now with I'm working on a new instrument. It's pretty fun. It's really, really fun, actually. It's based on some very cool audio morphing technology. Mm-hmm. I figured since I started MorphWiz, years ago, when iPhones were first released, I should continue and like kind of expand on that vision and bring it up to date. So it's kind of what I'm doing. I'm really excited about it. It's what I'm, haven't really showed many people, but it's super fun to play, and it's going to be awesome.
I think one of the things that to kind of touch base on what you said about how, has yet to really kind of catch up. Like one of the things I do love about the app is that, for one, it's more likely to make somebody want to play an instrument than, say, Guitar Hero or a band, rock band, where really it's just a game and they're trying to exceed a certain thing on the game. Whereas maybe playing with a music-based app might say, oh, wow, this, I can do this, but like, I wonder if I could learn how to do this on a keyboard, actually.
Yeah, it's a different headspace, that's for sure. The gaming mentality is a really different, it's a different place. It's a different kind of a thing.
Oh, yeah, it totally focuses on a totally different thing. And, well, actually, just to close out, well, first off, thanks again for doing this. It's always a pleasure.
So great to talk to you.
So I know one of your favorite bands is Yes. You've got two Yeses now, like kind of split down the middle and doing their own thing. Could you ever imagine a world with two Dream Theaters?
I guess the closest we got to that is when Portnoy went out and did his Shattered Fortress thing, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
It wasn't really, but it wasn't really Dream Theater, but, I guess you could say it was somewhat related.
Yeah.
He was in Dream Theater. He was playing Dream Theater music. But since it was just him and everybody else was from somewhere else, I think it's more of a cover band kind of thing.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure they did a good job. They're all good musicians.
Right.
But yeah. But I don't know. Anything is possible, right?
So do you have a favorite of the two Yes lineups?
Hard to say. I was just on the Cruise to the Edge thing, and I saw Yes with John Davidson and Jeff Downes and Steve Howe.
Right.
And that was, I thought they did a really nice job. They played really well. I haven't been to a show with the other lineup, though, with Trevor Rabin.
Oh, with Anderson and and Rabin, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's really, really good. I'm a huge Trevor Rabin fan, so I imagine that it's that they do it really well. And I love John Anderson, of course. So I don't know. How about you?
I think, honestly, I think that, like the rest of the world, when I saw that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame performance with Geddy Lee on bass, I'm like, take that to the road. Just do that. Put all your differences aside. Get Geddy Lee on bass and just hit the road, man. You know what I mean? Like, that was such a spectacular performance. So, but I'm partial to Anderson, because he's such a distinct, part of that band, that,
sure, absolutely.
But, it's like, I've heard people say, hey, if you get two, you get two. You can go see both. It's like you get,
right. Yeah, well,
two sides of the coin.
So like the more the merrier.
Yeah, exactly. And also with you being a huge Crimson fan, what do you think of the new Crimson lineup too?
Are they still using the 3-drummer thing?
Yeah, they're doing like the 8-headed beast thing, and they have Jacko Jackchick on vocals and guitar.
He's wonderful. Yeah, I saw King Crimson, I don't know, 2-3 years ago when they were doing the 3-drummer.
Yeah, that's when I saw them. Yeah,
and I thought it was cool, but I was kind of like, I don't know, like maybe it could be done with one drummer. I honestly think it's a little bit over the top for me.
And for Jordan Rudess to say something's over the top is huge,
There you go. I don't know if anybody agrees with me, but 3 drummers. I walk into sound check sometimes with my group, and Mike is banging on the drums or whatever, and I'm like, and that's intense, But 3 drummers.
Could you imagine that with 3?
That would be, I don't know.
So. Well, so I guess to close out, what's going on? Are you guys on a break right now? And is there ever going to be any plans to take this this album out on the road? So
I'm so busy with Dream Theater right now doing all this touring. It's a major kind of like push now because we've got so much road time ahead of us.
Right.
But, as soon as I see any kind of, light at the end of this tunnel, I'll definitely figure out how to do some Wired for Madness stuff as well. So we can totally expect that I'll, figure that out at some point. But at the moment, I'm on a break, and then we start doing all the Europe summer festivals.
Right.
So that's what's going to happen next. And then really, we're only at the beginning of this world tour.
Yes.
So we have so much ground to cover. We still have to do Asia and Australia and another run to America and European headlining shows and, all this kind of stuff. So there's a ton of work to do. But me, I'm always thinking about music and always kind of planning what's next. And certainly when time allows, I'll figure out how to do some more solo stuff and take some Wired for Madness music and present it.
Well, that is amazing, and I love the fact that I just heard that there's going to be another U.S. swing. So hopefully it'll bring you back to Atlanta, and we can hang again.
There you go. I hope so.
There's so much more I want to talk to you about, but we'll save that for another time. So, well, awesome. Jordan, thank you so much again, and congratulations on Wired for Madness. It's a brilliant record, and it's I have to say it's my favorite of yours so far, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you, Dom. Thanks for the support, man. I really appreciate it. It's always great to talk to you.
Always great to talk to you too, my friend, and we'll talk again soon.
Right on.
All right. Bye-bye.
So hot, her body is on fire.